guys, so for today, we are continuing on to Unit 4, which today we're looking at 4.4, and we're going to be looking at your parallel lines and transversals part of this. So we've already talked about our angle pairs, so we're going to be looking at the angle pairs that are congruent to each other. So let's jump into that. So the first key point we're going to look at is parallel lines intersected, means cut, by a transversal form several congruent angle pairs. So the angle pairs that we talked about a while ago, there are pairs of those that are congruent to each other. So we're going to talk about those pairs and how they work, okay? So let's go ahead and jump into example number 1 here, and I'll go ahead and explain those for you. All right, guys, so looking at example number 1, we are now going to examine the angles that are congruent to each other. So the first one we're going to talk about is the vertical angles. So you guys have learned that a couple of lessons ago, but the angle that is directly across from that is going to be congruent to that. So the first one we're going to look at is your vertical angle. So the one that is vertical to that is going to be the one straight across from it. So let's go ahead and do it in a different color. So the angle vertical of that is going to be the one straight across from that angle. So right there, those are going to be vertical angles. So that means this angle right now is going to be 68 as well. Okay, so that is the vertical angle. Okay, so the next angle we're going to look at is something called the corresponding angle. So corresponding to that means it's basically the same thing on the other parallel line. So in the same spot. So the next one we're going to look at is your corresponding angle. So the corresponding angle, so here, I'm going to do this actually. This is going to be the red one, okay? And I'm going to do your corresponding angle in green here. So corresponding is also going to be 68, but that means it's basically in the same spot on the other parallel line. So I have my parallel line going here. If you look in this section, the top left is going to be 68. Now if I look down at this section, in the same exact spot is going to be your corresponding angle. So this angle right now, right here, is going to be your corresponding angle. That angle is also going to be 68 degrees because it's basically that transversal is going to be cutting it in the same spot. So this angle and this angle are corresponding to each other, okay? And the last angle we're going to look at, and I'm actually going to do this in blue, is going to be called your alternate exterior angle. So the next one we're going to look at is alternate exterior. So right now, this angle is what I'm looking at on the opposite side and exterior. So everything on the inside is your interior, everything on the outside is your exterior. So alternate and exterior to that is going to be 68. So this angle down here is also going to be 68. So basically what you can see is by two vertical angles, those are congruent, corresponding angles, and alternate exterior. Now these two angles are also corresponding, that's what makes them congruent. So ladies and gentlemen, these are the combinations of all of your vertical, corresponding, and alternate exterior angles are all congruent type of angles, okay? All right, so let's look at example number 2 here. Okay, so right now in example number 2, I am given two angles here, and I'm basically trying to analyze their relationship. So I have this angle right here, which is going to equal 72. And then I have this angle right here, which is going to be 4x plus 20. So on the last example, we actually looked at this angle. If I go on the alternate side and the exterior, these two angles are going to be alternate exterior angles, which alternate exterior angles are congruent. So, or another way to look at this is this angle and this angle right here are corresponding. So if this is 72, this angle right here is 72, which now makes these two vertical angles. So those three things all kind of correspond with each other because they're all equal. So we're just going to work off the alternate exterior here. So these two angles right here are alternate exterior angles. So alternate exterior angles. And so since they're alternate exterior angles, that means they're congruent, which means 72 and 4x plus 20 are going to be equal to each other. So I'm going to do 72, and I'm going to set that equal to 4x plus 20. So I'm going to subtract 20 on both sides, which is going to end up giving me, 52. And then I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides, which 4 into 42 is going to end up giving me 13. So x is going to be 13. Because 4 times 10 is 40, 4 times 3 is 12, 12 and 40 give you 52. So x is going to end up being 13. okay? Let's move to example number 3. Okay, so now on example number 3, it looks like we are needing to find the angles here. So in this instance, I want actually up on the top left, this should be 5x plus 8, by the way. I think it says 5a. You need to erase that and put 5x plus 8, okay? So right now, looking at these, oh, I forgot alternate interior angles. Okay. Okay, so now looking at example number 3. So these two angles right now, if we look, 5x plus 8 is actually supposed to be this one right here. I think it says 5a plus 8. And then this one 6x minus 4. So right now we need to analyze the relationship between these two. So just to let you know, on example number 1, I actually forgot one. We did vertical angles, we did corresponding angles, we did alternate exterior, and now I need to include alternate interior angles. So these two angles are actually on opposite sides of my transversal, and they're both interior angles, which makes them alternate interior angles. So alternate interior angles are also congruent. So alternate interior angles are congruent as well. So what that means is that this angle 5x plus 8 and this angle right here 6x minus 4 are going to be equal to each other. So I'm going to do 5x plus 8 and I'm going to set that equal to 6x minus 4. So I can subtract 5x on both sides. So I should get 8 equals x minus 4. And then I'm going to add 4 on both sides. So x is going to end up equaling 12. So that gives me the value of x. So if your question ever asks for x, it gives you the value of x. So now it might ask you, what is the value of ADF, which means this angle right here. So all you have to do now is plug x back in. So let's just say it was asking for that. So I would take 5x plus 8, and I would plug x back into that. So 5 times 12 plus 8. 5 times 12 is going to give you 60, plus 8 is going to equal 68 degrees. And then technically speaking, these two angles are alternate interiors, so that means they're equal, so that means this angle would also be 68. So ladies and gentlemen, those are going to end up being your answer there, okay? Or your solution as you go through, because those are alternate interior angles. All right, guys, and now normally what happens in the bottom left-hand corner of your paper, there is going to be a challenge question on there. So remember, that's kind of your gauge to see if you're ready to move on to your skill check or not. So if you need to, go and do that on your own and complete it. If you're needing a little bit of help to do that, call me over, and then that's going to give you an idea if you're ready or if you needed to be a little more practice before you move on to your skill check. Holler at me if you need any help. Good luck.